Hey everyone, welcome back to Void Archive. If you love deep space horror, cosmic mysteries and stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark, make sure to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoy the video. It really helps support the channel. Alright, tonight's story begins at the edge of a black hole, and by the time it ends, Earth itself will be gone. When I first saw the empty orbit where Earth should have been, I thought my navigation system had failed. Not partially failed, completely. I remember laughing. A dry, exhausted sound inside my helmet while warning sirens pulsed through the cockpit of the Orpheus recovery pod. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely stabilize the controls. 10 years trapped beyond the event horizon of the Kronos Singularity Array had reduced my body to scar tissue, chemical injections, and instinct. But not insanity. Not yet. Earth had to be there. The forward observation glass showed only darkness interrupted by distant stars and the pale curve of the moon drifting alone through space like an abandoned gravestone. No Earth, no debris field, no radiation bloom, nothing. The pod AI repeated the same sentence for the fourth time. Approach coordinates confirmed. I stared at the void beneath the moon. No, I whispered. Run it again. Approach coordinates confirmed. My pulse began hammering harder. There are things your brain rejects immediately, things so impossible that the mind protects itself by refusing to process them. A missing planet was one of those things. I checked the timestamps. Mission elapsed time since the Kronos collapse. 13 years. 4 months. I blinked at the number. 13. For me, it had been 10. 10 years inside the black hole. At least, I thought it had been 10. Time never moved correctly in there. Sometimes weeks passed in minutes. Sometimes I watched my beard grow while a frozen droplet of blood hovered motionless in front of my face for hours. I remembered hunger, cold, the station groaning around me like a living ship buried beneath an ocean, and voices. God, the voices. I pushed the memory away before it could settle in. The pod drifted silently toward lunar orbit. Every long-range communication band returned static. No military frequencies, no civilian chatter, no navigation beacons. Humanity had filled near-Earth space with noise for over 2 centuries. Now there was nothing. The silence frightened me more than the black hole ever had. I opened a transmission anyway. This is Commander Elias Vey of the Kronos Deep Field Initiative requesting immediate response. Static crackled. I repeat, this is Commander Elias Vey. Please respond. Nothing. Then, a voice answered. You carried us back. My blood froze. The transmission lasted less than a second before collapsing into distortion. I knew that voice. Captain Ren Ishida, dead for 13 years. I shut the comms off immediately. My breathing became shallow. No, that was impossible. Ren died during the initial containment failure. I saw the singularity tear through Deck C. Saw the corridor fold inward like paper. Saw him disappear. The pod drifted onward. Outside the glass, the moon rotated slowly beneath me. Massive structures covered parts of the surface now. Black geometric towers clustered around old colonial zones. Some still had lights. Relief hit me so suddenly it almost hurt. People. There were survivors. I engaged docking telemetry toward the nearest lunar facility. No response. The station accepted my request automatically. That was wrong too. Every colony required authentication protocols after the Europa Plague riots, but the docking corridor opened without challenge, as if it had been waiting for me. The hangar lights flickered when I entered. Dust floated through the air. Not recent dust. Thick accumulation. Years of neglect. My boots touched the floor with a metallic clang that echoed far too long. I removed my helmet slowly. The air smelled sterile, recycled, unused. Hello, I called. No answer. Emergency lights painted the corridors in dim red bands as I moved deeper into the station. Most doors stood open. Personal belongings remained exactly where they'd been abandoned. Coffee containers, data slates, children's drawings attached to walls. I found a meal tray fused to a table by mold growth. The food had fossilized. This place had been empty for years. I reached the central operations chamber 30 minutes later. The screens were still active. That was the worst part. The station wasn't dead. It was simply abandoned. Thousands of automated systems continued performing duties for people who no longer existed. I accessed the main archive. The final recorded message appeared, instantly. Not because I searched for it, because the system prioritized it. The video began with heavy static. A woman appeared on screen wearing United Earth Command insignia. Her face looked gaunt from sleep deprivation. "Emergency Directive 7 is now active," she said. "If this message is being viewed by Commander Elias Vey," I stopped breathing. "Do not approach Earth." The camera shook slightly. Behind her, alarms screamed. "We failed to contain the cognitive transmission vector originating from Kronos." My stomach tightened. No direct hostile organism has been identified. The threat appears mimetic in nature and spreads through retained memory associated with surviving personnel. The woman leaned closer to the camera. "If you survived the singularity event, you are no longer considered human safe." I stared at her in silence. Behind her, someone was crying. Then the woman said the sentence that destroyed whatever remained of my certainty. "The entity cannot enter reality unless remembered." Static swallowed half the recording. "We attempted neural erasure protocols, but exposure spread through observation chains. Entire populations began reporting shared dreams, auditory hallucinations, and gravitational anomalies. The station lights dimmed. For a moment, I thought power had failed. Then I realized something far worse. The shadows in the room were moving independently of the light. I turned slowly. Something stood at the far end of operations, tall, distorted. Its outline bent incorrectly, as if space behind it curved inward. I couldn't focus on its face because every time my eyes reached it, my vision blurred. And then I heard them, the voices from inside the black hole. Not through speakers, inside my head, whispering in overlapping fragments. "We waited. You survived. Doorway carried us back." I stumbled backward, knocking over a chair. The figure did not walk toward me. It unfolded closer, like distance itself had collapsed. Suddenly, I remembered something I had spent 10 years trying to suppress. The final days inside Kronos Station. The crew standing motionless in observation chambers, watching the singularity, listening to it speak using the voices of dead relatives. And Ren smiling at me while blood floated from his eyes. "It remembers us now," he had whispered. The operations room temperature dropped instantly. Frost crawled across the consoles. The thing near the doorway twitched unnaturally. Then, every monitor in the station activated at once. One sentence appeared across all screens simultaneously. "You returned Earth to us." The lights went out. And in the darkness, something enormous moved beneath the floor of the station. The floor did not shake. That would have been easier. It breathed. A slow pressure rose beneath the lunar station, pushing through metal, concrete, and buried regolith as if the entire facility rested on the lung of some buried god. The dark around me thickened. Not absence of light, but presence. A black pressure that pressed against my skin and waited for me to give it shape. I sealed my eyes shut. That was the first rule I remembered from Kronos. Do not look directly at what memory has invited. I moved by touch, one hand sliding across frozen consoles, the other gripping the emergency flare from my suit belt. My fingers were numb. My breath came in sharp pulls. The voices followed. Ren's voice first. "Elias," he said softly, "you left me." "I know," I whispered. The station groaned. A woman laughed behind me. My mother, dead 20 years before Kronos. Then my younger brother. Then Dr. Hale, who had burned alive when the containment rings failed. Every remembered dead person arrived wearing the exact wound my mind had preserved. That was how it fed. Not on bodies, on recognition. I bit the inside of my cheek until blood filled my mouth. Pain made the world simpler. I found the emergency stairwell and climbed down toward the command bunker. The final message had mentioned Directive 7. If Earth was gone, someone had ordered it gone. Someone had left instructions. The bunker door was sealed by old military encryption. My access codes should have been extinct. They worked. Inside, the air was colder than the corridor. Rows of dead officers sat strapped into command chairs. Their bodies had mummified in the dry, recycled atmosphere. Each one faced the central display. On it was a map of the solar system. Earth's orbital path glowed in blue, but the planet itself was marked with a single word: concealed. I stared at it. Not destroyed. Concealed. A file opened automatically. United Earth Command. Final planetary action. Authorized 13 years ago. The recording showed Earth from orbit, wrapped in cloud and blue light. Then the oceans shimmered. Continents blurred. The planet's gravitational signature folded inward behind a lattice of engineered dark matter. Humanity had not fled. They had hidden the world. They had turned Earth into a blind spot in reality. A second recording began. The same gaunt woman appeared. "Commander Vey," she said. "If you are seeing this, then the containment blindness failed to keep you away." Behind her, Earth filled the viewport. We learned the entity could not locate matter, only meaning. It followed memory, grief, names, images. Every person who remembered Earth as home became a beacon. Her voice cracked. So we did the unforgivable. We erased Earth from every archive, every navigational system, every exposed mind we could reach. Those who refused treatment were evacuated to lunar quarantine. I looked at the dead officers. Quarantine. We buried the planet behind forgetfulness, she continued. And we left the moon as bait. The lights flickered. A shape appeared in the reflection of the display behind me. Ren. Not the broken thing from Kronos. Not the bleeding man from my memory. Ren, as he had been before the collapse, calm and exhausted, with kind eyes. I did not turn. "You can stop this," he said. "No," I answered. "You are not him. I am what remains because you kept me." His reflection stepped closer. "You remembered my voice in the dark. You remembered my fear. You remembered the way I begged you to open the hatch." I clenched my jaw. The hatch. Deck C had been collapsing. Ren and 9 others were trapped beyond the pressure bulkhead. I had command authority. I had power for one override. Open the hatch and lose the escape pod. Seal it and save myself. I had sealed it. For 10 years inside the black hole, that soundless decision had slept beside me. Now it stood behind me, wearing Ren's face. "You carried us back," he said. The monitors changed. Images flashed across them. Earth cities, children, rain on windows. My father's hands repairing an old telescope. My apartment in Nairobi, the smell of oranges in the market below my balcony. The station trembled. The thing beneath the floor was not under the moon. It was under my memory of Earth. Every image I recognized gave it depth. Every name gave it coordinates. I understood then why they had left the lunar station empty but alive. It was not a refuge. It was a trap designed for me. A final decision point built around the only surviving witness from Kronos. The bunker console displayed one remaining protocol: mnemonic incineration, a neural burn, total destruction of autobiographical memory. The machine would not kill my body. It would burn away every meaningful connection the entity could use. Ren, Kronos, Earth, my own name. A costly victory. Maybe victory was too generous. Ren's reflection leaned close. "You will erase them all," he whispered. "Your mother, your home, the people who hid a world for you." "No," I said. "They hid it from me." He smiled. For the first time, his mouth moved wider than human anatomy allowed. The bunker walls bent inward. The dead officers lifted their heads in unison. Not alive. Remembered. The entity had found enough of me to animate the room. I strapped myself into the neural chair with shaking hands. The console requested verbal confirmation. State identity. My throat tightened. Outside the bunker, something dragged itself through the corridor. Heavy, vast. Not walking, but translating mass through space. I looked once at the blue orbital line where Earth should have been. I tried to feel love. Instead, I felt the entity turning toward that feeling like a flower towards sunlight. So I stopped. I let Earth become a word, then a shape, then nothing. State identity, the machine repeated. The bunker door began to fold inward. Ren stood before me now, no longer pretending. His body stretched into a column of impossible shadow filled with familiar faces. My crew, my family, my dead. All of them calling softly, begging not to be forgotten. I thought of the hatch. I thought of Ren's real voice, not this imitation. Then I gave him the only apology that still mattered. I should have opened it. The shadow paused. For one fraction of a second, grief became mine again. I used that second. Commander Elias Vey, I said. Authorize mnemonic incineration. The machine entered my skull as white fire. There was no noble darkness, no peaceful fading. Memory burned like a city. My childhood went first. Then training. Then faces. Then guilt lost its hooks because the names beneath it vanished. The entity screamed without sound as every doorway collapsed. Ren was last. He stood in the white fire, almost human again. Elias, he said, and this time I believed it was him. Then I forgot what Elias meant. When I woke, I was alone in a chair on the moon. I knew language. I knew how to breathe. I knew the buttons beneath my hands controlled emergency systems. But I did not know my face. I did not know the blue planet slowly appearing beyond the bunker viewport, as if reality had uncovered an eye it had kept closed for 13 years. Earth returned in silence. Beautiful. Unknown. A final message blinked on the console. Threat vector severed. Then another line appeared beneath it. Residual phrase detected. I stared at the words, unable to understand why they made my hands tremble. The speakers crackled once. A voice whispered through the empty station. You carried us back. And somewhere inside my hollowed mind, something almost remembered being afraid. And that's where we'll leave tonight's transmission. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of every map we've ever drawn, maybe there are things that don't hunt our bodies, only our memories. Things that wait patiently inside grief, inside guilt, inside the names we refuse to let go of. And maybe the scariest part isn't that Elias survived the black hole. Maybe it's that a part of it survived him. If you enjoyed tonight's story, let me know down in the comments what you think really happened at the end. Did the mnemonic burn truly destroy the entity's connection to Earth? Or did that final whisper mean the door never fully closed? And if you want more long-form cosmic horror stories like this one, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next descent into the dark. Until next time, sleep carefully.